Who is winning MVP? Who is getting fired first? And which playoff teams from a year ago will miss the tournament in 2023? I already have those answers, and I'm about to share all of them and more with you in my bold, stupid, and very accurate NFL predictions for the 2023 season that is so close to starting. And let's begin with an obvious shocker. The NFL, for the first time in its existence, will have two quarterbacks rush for over 1,000 yards in the same season. Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields will combine for over 2,000 ground yards. Now, Jackson was on pace for over 1,100 yards last year before getting hurt. And Fields, of course, finished the season with 1,143. What's scary is Lamar was on pace for 1,100 yards, and it didn't even feel like he had a great rushing game last season. The first head coach fired. In 2022, the Carolina Panthers snuck in and fired Matt Rule before any other team could rid themselves of the man they trusted to lead their organization. Now, Jim Irsay famously fired Frank Reich mid-season, replaced him with TV guy Jeff Saturday, and Nathaniel Hackett was let go after the Broncos got embarrassed on Christmas by Baker Mayfield, and of course, that little fuckwad Patrick Starr from Nickelodeon's bullshit kid fuck show. That fucking show should be canceled. And the NFL should fine that slimy animated little piece of shit.
That's not what he wanted to cook.
That was 3 in-season firings though, and I don't think we'll see that many this upcoming season. Let's begin with the coaches who are on the hot seat heading into the year. I've got Mike McCarthy, hot seat, Kevin Stefanski, Josh McDaniels, Brandon Staley, Dennis Allen, Todd Bowles, Ron Rivera, and surprise, Bill Belichick. All of those men have their asses toasting on the hot seat right now. One of their asses, though, is burning because of hemorrhoids. Stay tuned to the end of this episode to find out when I violate HIPAA and open up their medical records and reveal who that is. I'll go down to the NFC South and say Dennis Allen or Todd Bowles will be the first to get the axe in 2023. Now, I feel like Mike McCarthy and Brandon Staley are the two coaches on the list who could make the playoffs and still get fired. If either of their teams go one and done in the playoffs, they gone. Because God knows there's no more offensive coordinators to take the fall for either of those guys. Today's episode is sponsored by Manscaped.com/goodsports. Move over, Tim and Al. There's a new handyman in town. Yeah, the Handyman Compact Shaver by Manscaped. Now, to be honest, I haven't used an electric shaver in probably 15 years because they all gave me bad razor burn. That just changed. I tested Manscaped's new Handyman on my neck, which is the hardest place for me to get a good shave because my hair grows in a billion different directions. And the Handyman is amazing. It gave me a smooth, close shave with its unique dual blade system, which is a standard foil shaver and a long hair blade to knock down 3 days worth of growth. It's got the patented skin safe technology and is waterproof so you can shave wet. You know the deal. To shave off 20% from your order, use my unique link below, manscaped.com/goodsports, and order the Handyman. The game-changing compact shaver, perfect for travel, that lasts up to 60 minutes. Something you only could dream about accomplishing before. Lasting 60 minutes. Trevor Lawrence is my favorite to win MVP.
He couldn't write a crazier script.
Now, Trevor Lawrence has one weakness he needs to overcome this season, okay? Playing like complete shit against the Texans for no reason. Last year, in his 2 games against the division opponent, he threw 0 touchdowns and 3 picks and somehow split the series. Throwing no touchdowns and 3 picks against the 2022 Texans is like Steph Curry forgetting how to make a layup. He can do everything else except the easiest part of his job. Fix that first, Trevor. I was mostly impressed by Lawrence's poise, though, after throwing 4 picks against the Chargers in the playoffs, a story we all know very well. Sure, Jacksonville lost a week later, but when you can not implode after one of the worst starts to any playoff games ever, I think it's a telling sign that you have it. Whatever it is, I think Lawrence has it. And I think Urban Meyer was so bad, we have to look at last season like Trevor Lawrence's rookie year. We all know about Calvin Ridley returning and adding to a very solid receiving group for the Jaguars. Assuming good health, they are better in that department, and T-Law upped his completion percentage from 59.6 to 66.3 from year 1 to year 2. It felt like he took a massive leap forward while still leaving a lot on the table, a lot to be desired. Just 25 touchdowns last season, but also just 8 picks. Josh Allen exploded in year 3. It was his best season, and it's still his best season as a pro. Trevor Lawrence's third year will be comparable, and it will be in a shittier division. After a year with Doug Peterson, the emergence of Travis Etienne, everything should be easier for Lawrence from week 1. My offensive player of the year, that's going to go to Tyreek Hill when he not only leads the NFL in receiving yards, but with that extra game, breaks the all-time receiving record with over 2,000 yards in 17 games. This is definitely going to depend on the availability of his quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. If he can stay healthy and upright, I see him and Tyreek expanding on what they did a year ago. Defensive Player of the Year. Out of the last 12 Defensive Players of the Year, only one of them has been a defensive back. That was Stephon Gilmore back in 2019. I think we get another corner in 2023. Now, there are a few prime candidates, including Tariq Woolen of the Seahawks and Patrick Surtain of the Broncos, but the only one who will consistently have a spotlight on him and attract enough attention to garner the award is Jets corner Sauce Gardner. Last year's playoff teams that will miss the postseason. These were the 14 playoff teams from last year if you want the refresher. In the NFC, my first pick is easy. It's the Buccaneers. Tom Brady was pedestrian last year, and Baker Mayfield at his best isn't even a pedestrian, which is why his trial got dismissed in college when he was tackled for jaywalking. Now, I believe the Saints with Derek Carr will take their place, or the Panthers if my Dennis Allen firing pick holds true. I really want to say Dallas will miss the playoffs, but I think they actually got better this offseason. So the other team besides the Bucs to miss the NFC playoffs is going to be the Seahawks when the Lions take their place.
Oh, I don't feel weight. I feel wind underneath my freaking wings, man. That's what I feel.
The AFC is tougher for me. Every team that made it, you can argue, got better or stayed the same, like the Chiefs. So the Bills feel like the only team that isn't starting this season in as good of a spot as they did last season. Von Miller's return is a big question mark. They need him to be healthy and good to go on the edge. God, what am I saying? What am I saying? Are they going to miss this playoffs? No, Josh Allen will will them into the postseason. I still believe that, even if they're a wild card. Instead, it's the Ravens. They will miss the playoffs. Now, I rooted for Lamar Jackson to get paid, and he did. And I think it will ultimately curse him. Todd Monken is coming in to fix the Ravens' offense. It definitely needed a refresher, but I simply think the evolution to Lamar's game will be a process that pays dividends in 2024 versus this year. Also, when this team stops causing hospitals to run out of beds, I'll buy back into the Ravens. Most interceptions thrown. Dak threw a league-leading 15 picks last season despite only starting 12 games, so there's no reason to think he can't build on those numbers if he's able to stay healthy. I mentioned that Sauce Gardner was going to win Defensive Player of the Year, but I don't believe that means he'll lead the league in interceptions. 4 different players tied for the lead with 6 picks last year, so nobody really stood out. But I'm going to go way off the board and put my money on Houston Texans safety Jalen Petrie. Petrie was a second-round pick by the Texans in 2022 and grabbed 5 interceptions as a rookie, and with a potentially better offense in Houston to prey on opposing QBs. The most sacks this season. Nick Bosa led the NFL with 17 sacks last year. But I think we will see a new sack champ in 2023 by the name of Brian Burns.
Okay, oh, did it move?
In his 4th season for the Panthers, Burns had 12.5 sacks last season in just 16 games, and with Bryce Young leading a more capable offense in Carolina, I think Burns and the Panthers defense will have a lead and be able to pin their ears back a lot more frequently than they could last season. They got to do it against the Broncos last year, and that was pretty much it. So you're welcome, Carolina. This year's Russell Wilson will be Russell Wilson again. The expectations are low now, but the pressure on him is still very, very high. Plus, he just cursed himself. Russ produced a football documentary featuring an evangelical football team called God Family Football. He turned his meme into an entire series for freebie. The least impressive of all the streaming services. All his instincts seem to be wrong right now. The Broncos will make the postseason though, but it will be with a at quarterback. Steelers QB Kenny Pickett will have a breakout year. Last season, Pickett had very modest and perhaps just bad numbers, but showed a lot of grit at the end of a few close games, finishing his rookie year with a 7-5 record. 4 of those victories coming via game-winning drives. This season, I think he ups his production and makes winning a lot easier on himself and his team. Pickett had 7 touchdowns and 9 picks in 2022. I think that ratio flips and he hits over 20 TD passes as the full-time starter and contributes over 3,500 yards through the air with those beautiful tiny hands of his. And I like the improved line in front of him and George Pickens for a breakout season at wide receiver. My rushing leader. I was tempted to pick Bijan Robinson as the rushing leader, but I think his availability as a receiver will cut into his carries and prevent him from doing that. The same thing will happen to Christian McCaffrey. Those two could be competing for most all-purpose yards this upcoming year. My brain is telling me it will be Nick Chubb, who won't have to share carries with Kareem Hunt and will be a victim of the Browns wanting to run him into the ground before they have to even think about paying him more money again with a new contract. But I'm going to say it's actually Seattle's Kenneth Walker, who finished the season with 3 straight 100-yard games and broke 100 yards in 5 of the 6 games where he got at least 20 carries. And the only one he didn't, he had 97 rushing yards. When Drew Lock takes over for a struggling Geno Smith, Walker will be getting 30-plus carries every week easy. Here's a new award, the Antonio Brown Man of the Year Award. That's right, this is the opposite of the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. It goes to the player who does the most damage to the community. And I predict this person will be Jackson Mahomes. Technically, he's not a player, but I don't think anyone's going to argue with this pick. George Kittle will finish the season with more receiving touchdowns than Travis Kelce. Now, this sounds bold, but Kittle had 11 TDs last season, while Kelce had 12. Kittle missed the first 2 games of the season and scored 7 of his 11 touchdowns after Brock Purdy took over, with 3 multi-touchdown games. Kelce had nearly double the receiving yards at 1,338, but if Purdy plays all season, I think Kittle will break Randy Moss's touchdown record. 24 Kittle touchdowns, but still not 1,000 yards receiving, the way it should be. And Brock Purdy will play the entire season for the 49ers. That may be the most bold prediction of them all. And Kyle Shanahan will win head coach of the year when the 49ers look just unstoppable with Purdy and that machine going week in and week out. Anthony Richardson will begin his ascent to join the ranks of all-time great Colts quarterbacks like Peyton Manning, Johnny Unitas, Andrew Luck, and Phillip Rivers. He will have the best rookie QB season and win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Malik will not be the only hooker that Jerry Jones pays this season. I'm talking sex, not a trade from Hendon Hooker when Dak breaks the interception record. Al Michaels will fall asleep through an entire quarter of Thursday Night Football, and no one will even notice. And Bill Belichick, he's the coach that has the hemorrhoids. He's had them his entire life. It's why he's angry all the time. I told you I'd circle back to that. And I guess the Super Bowl prediction... 49ers versus Bengals. Super Bowl rematch. Thrice. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports, the annual, bold, accurate, stupid prediction show. Let me know which predictions you agree with and how you disagree with all of them. Please.